How's it going, PokeMoshPit? I got a standard match for you guys against Megaabsol777. Now, let's look at the team preview for a little bit. We're actually both running one prankster. I will talk about what both of them do once we get to that point, since they do end up facing off against each other mid-game. Now, looking at my team for a little bit, I've made a little bit of an oversight in that I have 4 weak to Stealth Rocks, one of them being 4 times weak in the form of Volcarona, and I also have 3 weak to Electric. Fortunately, looking at his team, aside from a Rogue Thunder Punch or Thunder Fang on Gallade and Salamence respectively, and then, Stealth Rocks being on Blissey, there's not a whole lot on this team that's going to be threatening to me as a whole, so I feel kind of safe. But we're going to go ahead and jump right into it. He's going to go ahead and lead off with Alomomola, decides to protect on the off chance that I am a Scarf Rotom. He does, predict that correctly. And what I'm going to do right here is a little bit of a more aggressive prediction, for it being early game. But I do predict the U-turn correctly. And what that's going to make him do is send in a Pokemon before I go to the Volt Switch, or go for the Volt Switch. That is his only electric immunity, meaning that I'm actually going to be able to get this attack off safely and end up going into something else. So, I figured at that point, if he wants to go for the Stone Edge, fine, but it's not really going to end up paying off for him big time, so it's not going to end up KOing anyways. Don't really know what I would have done at that point if he did decide to go for Stone Edge. I'm just glad he went for U-turn, and I ended up getting that correctly. But for now, nothing's going to really end up wanting to take a Choice Banded anything aside from Alomomola, who shrugs off this close combat pretty nicely. I want to say, probably anywhere between 30 and 25% looking at it. Not really going to want to stay in it at all. Going to want to save my Staraptor definitely to take out Blissey if that situation's going to be possible. But right here, a little bit of a more unusual play, but in the back of my mind, I was like, he's probably going to Status. He's going to Toxic. I don't know what else he has the potential to do, but he can Wish, he can Protect, he can, Toxic, and then he probably has an attacking move in the form of, like, Scald. I'm thinking Scald is probably the only one. But right here, he does Wish. I'm either predicting the Protect or him to try to pass it to Gallade or Ment safely. And, yeah, I do end up getting that, but he switches out Gallade, decides to go into his Cottony. Now, I'll talk about his set first for a little bit, since mine stays in a little bit longer. But his set, what it is it's a level 1. It's got Focus Sash, it's got Substitute, Leech Seed, Endeavor, and one other move. I'm not really sure of what it is. It could be Giga Drain or something like that. But what it does is when it gets hit, he gets to go for the Leech Seed on the... He gets to go for the Leech Seed. He's brought down to his Focus Sash, ends up getting all of his HP back, and then just ends up subbing, endeavoring, whatever the order calls for. I have not used one myself, but I know between Substitute, Leech Seed, and Endeavor, if you don't have a U-turner or a Taunter, it gets very annoying very quickly. But right there, I was like, okay, you know what? He's taunted. He'll either A, want to go for the Endeavor again, predicting my switch, or, he'll just end up switching out himself, in which case I'll go for the Toxic in either scenario, since Endeavor will fail, or I'll get Toxic on something else, and end up catching Ments, which is pretty cool. Now to talk about my prankster for a little bit. This little Egbert is max HP, max defense. He's also got Feather Dance and Roost and Toxic. I do run Taunt on it, just because Taunt is a good move to have on it. I run Sub on my other Murkrow. I figured, we'll run Taunt. It actually ends up working out in this game. I could have, taunted this Mence, predicting the Dragon Dance, but I can keep Feather Dancing endlessly, so he figures the best thing to do is attack me on the Special Spectrum while he can, while he's still alive. And we also see right now that his item happens to be Life Orb, so he's possibly a mixed Mence as opposed to the Specs Mence that I was thinking of. Specs probably would have done a little more damage as well, since he would have been invested more in special attack and whatnot. Unfortunately, he does get the burn, which is going to reduce my survivability by a lot. But what I decide to do right now is I decide to switch out into my Gyarados, predicting the Fire Blast. I do have Lunberry on this guy, so if it were to burn me once again, I would be okay. Problem is he switches in his Cottony now, and I don't really know what I'm going to do about it. But he decides to go for the Leech Seed. If I didn't have this burn, it would probably be way better off for me, since, I wouldn't end up dying at the end of the turn to it. But he does end up getting, Leech Seed back up to full and then whatnot. So Egbert didn't really do a hell of a lot in this game. I have had games before this where I've used it relatively successfully. So maybe next time, Mosh, but we'll see. But for now, this Cottony is not going to work out in the situation he's in right now, because not only do I have a Magic Bouncer, I have 2, U-turners, Volt Switchers, whatever you want to call them. I'm just going to call them U-turners since U-turn was there first. But I got 2 U-turners, so I can Volt Switch right now, and that gets rid of the Leech Seed as I switch in my next thing. What I personally would have done, I would have endeavored on that first turn if it was really intent on keeping it in. But honestly, if you saw Volt Switch that early on in the game, I would have just gotten the hell out of there and gone back to Blissey. But Cottony dies now. And ultimately, I think he does end up getting switch advantage here. Not really important since, you know, I did end up losing my Murkrow, but we both have our pranksters, you know, gone out of the way. And it's just going to be a lot more straight up fighting. Barring this part's kind of interesting. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to dump my choice item on Blissey right now. It turns out he's actually not running an item. I don't know if that was a mistake. Probably was, you know, 10 to run lefties on that. And he sets up the rocks now, and I don't know why I wasn't thinking about it. I was just so, you know, thrilled by the idea that I killed a Cottony that I completely forgot about the stealth rocks, or that he would have that potential. I figured I would just see what move he locked himself in on, or, you know, just locking in the Blissey in general is a good idea. But he seems pretty keen on keep going for the stealth rocks until I force him out. So I'm like, hey, I might have not have gotten in on time, but I'm going to get him up on your side of the field. There's not a whole lot you can do about it. So I switch Espeon in right now. I was kind of curious as to whether or not it wouldn't be able to bounce him back, even if he did already get Stealth Rocks up on my side of the field. Turns out it does, so that's good information to have. It was kind of obvious in hindsight, but, you know, the more you know, it's fun. You know, I've been playing Pokemon for a while. It's always nice to learn new things about the games that you're curious about. You didn't really end up learning until, you know, it ended up happening. So kind of cool. For now, he decides to bring in Gallade. Takes a Shy Shock, not too well, but he's going to go ahead and switch out right now. Decide to go into his, I believe, his Alomomola. He's going to do some switching games right here, you know, just coaxing different moves out of me. What he doesn't really know at this point, I don't think I've gone for a Calm Mind yet, but this is just a Calm Mind 3 attacking set. I actually do end up getting the Spec D drop on this one as well. But I'm not scared of Alomomola since I can bounce back anything it does. I can set up on it all day. I'm probably spoiling something that happens a little bit in the future, but he doesn't have any offensive moves on this. He's got Wish, Protect, Toxic. Actually, all I've seen from this thing are Wish and Protect, to be honest. I'm just assuming Toxic. And I don't really know what the fourth move is going to be. But he's going to switch out right now, I believe, after not doing anything, just protecting, and then, you know, just trying to coax a different move. I definitely am on the offensive right now. There's not really a whole hell of a lot he can do about it. So I'm going to go ahead and Calm Mind. I'm actually running Psyshock because of Blissey and or Chansey. And that's great, because this thing is Choice Scarfed as well. I'm going to stay in to see what it wants to do. Turns out it's a Wisher. And what I can do right now is I know that he's going to end up switching out. So I might as well just end up going for the Shadow Ball. I was kind of predicting Gallade to come in because it's, you know, better on health. And even if Shadow Ball didn't end up taking it out, it would bring it all the way back up to full. So I need a sure kill. He brings in Ments. Different idea, I suppose, but I did bounce back the Stealth Rocks from earlier. And what that's going to do is with the, you know, the Calm Mind and then just the 25% help. Easy KO. It's going to be great. So Landers decides to come in. I was pretty set on the idea that I was at full HP and I would be able to take a hit. But I guess I'm severely overestimating, you know, or underestimating, you know, Landorus. But it ends up taking me out in one shot from full. It turns out I had a 25% chance to do that. Had I known that I would take it that poorly, I probably would have gone out sooner. But this actually puts me in a pretty good boat, despite, you know, that oversight right there. Because what I get to do right now is I get to use my old 4th gen DD Taunt Gyarados here. Looking at it, you know, Alomomola, I mentioned, does not have any attacks. We learn that now, because I'm actually going to be able to taunt it right now. He can Wish, Protect, and do all that stuff he wants. I believe I actually end up shutting down a Wish right now. And it's going to be to the point where, you know, he can't really do anything. I'll end up getting a couple free DDs. If he wants to status me with Blissey, if it's got T-Wave. I do have Lumberry. I'm just going to be on the run late game, and that's how this Gyarados works. It's actually a Jolly Gyarados as well to outspeed, you know, Scarfers that they might have left late game. It reaches a interesting tier in terms of speed, I suppose. But you see right there, he doesn't have any moves left. He's actually going to end up... I don't really understand why he left it in to struggle. You could look at your own set and understand that you don't really have any moves, or maybe it was a misclick. I really don't know. Whatever the case was, it did end up giving me a free DD, and it's basically just going to be a Rampage at this point. It's going to be a Bloodbath. So, I'm going to give him a Waterfall to his face. I believe I am either +1 or +2 right now. Whatever I was, add another one to it. Why not? Because I get Moxie on that one. What else does he have left? He has Blissey, he has Alomomola, I believe he has Landorus. I told him I was Jolly, and I believe I had 2 DDs at that point, so I would have outsped. So he just ends up running at that point. But, that was a pretty interesting game, I thought, which is why I showed you guys today. If you enjoyed it, you're welcome to leave a like, rating, comment, subscribe, do your thing. Both of our links will be in the description, as always. I hope you guys are having a good day and continue to have a good day. And I will see you guys next time.